Congratulations, you're getting married. Not in love, married. Meaning before you're legally allowed to hold hands in front of your grandma, you get to survive an engagement that costs about the same as a used Honda Civic. There's a ring, supposedly 2 months' salary, a rule a diamond company made up in the 1930s, and somehow we all just agreed to it, permanently. Forever. Then the proposal, which apparently now requires a professional photographer hiding in a bush like a wedding paparazzo. Then the big day itself, a 200-person event where you rent a literal barn, pay a stranger to yell everybody line up for photos, and serve chicken or fish to people you haven't spoken to since 2016. You'll sign a government contract, you'll pick a theme, you'll go to war over a seating chart like it's the Treaty of Versailles, and somewhere in all that admin, you're still supposed to feel romantic. Good luck with that. And that's just the wedding day. Before that, premarital counseling, a bachelor and bachelorette party in 2 different cities because God forbid anyone relax in the same zip code, and a registry where you ask your loved ones to buy you a $90 gravy boat for gravy, a liquid, because you're starting a life together. Somewhere in there, one font choice on the invitations will nearly end the relationship before it starts. Average cost of a modern wedding? About $30,000. $30,000 to say 11 words you could have said in your kitchen for free, wearing sweatpants, with 0 caterers judging you. And after the flowers, the DJ, and the unplugged ceremony sign nobody reads, you're still not guaranteed it works. So congrats, you've just financed a ritual with a coin flip success rate to formalize a bond that 300,000 years ago, 2 people just did. No caterer, no barn, no font crisis. If watching modern life get roasted next to actual human history is your thing, congratulations. So is subscribing. Do it, because next week we're doing you today versus them 300,000 years ago on funerals. And shockingly, they had that more figured out than the seating chart people. So let's strip away every ounce of the nonsense. No ring, no barn, no officiant reading a Spotify playlist out loud, no in-laws negotiating the guest list like hostages. Rewind the tape 300,000 years. Same species, same basic need. Find your person, make it official enough that the group respects it, and somehow with 0 paperwork and 0 gravy boats, early humans nailed the exact same job. Embarrassing, honestly, how much easier they had it. First, let's kill a myth. There was no caveman wedding day, no vows, no rehearsal dinner. What early humans had instead was pair bonding, a long-term attachment anthropologists think has deep evolutionary roots tied to one very unglamorous fact. Raising a human baby is a nightmare. Human infants are helpless for years, longer than basically any other primate. A mother alone, foraging, dodging predators, and nursing a kid who can't walk or talk, that math doesn't work. So the theory goes, pair bonding stuck around because 2 adults splitting food, defense, and childcare massively boosted a kid's odds of making it to adulthood. No priest, no ring, just cold, unbothered Darwinian logic doing the paperwork nobody else wanted to do. So how did 2 people announce "we're a unit" without a courthouse, a hashtag, or a save the date? Through consistent, extremely public behavior the whole group could witness, sharing meat after a hunt, sleeping at the same fire, raising kids in full view of everyone. In bands of maybe 25 to 50 people, there was no privacy to begin with, so there was nothing to hide behind and nothing to fake. The proof of commitment wasn't a laminated certificate, it was months of the entire community watching you actually show up. Try forging that. Here's the part nobody puts on a Pinterest board. Genetic analysis of roughly 34,000-year-old human remains from a site called Sunghir in Russia shows people were already deliberately avoiding close inbreeding, pairing up outside their immediate family, likely by trading partners between neighboring bands. Not a coincidence, a system. Small groups couldn't survive on cousin marrying alone. The gene pool would tank in a couple generations, so somebody, somewhere, was quietly running population control 30,000 plus years before anyone invented HR departments or awkward Thanksgiving conversations about it. Was it foolproof? Absolutely not. Pair bonds fell apart. Jealousy, death, someone wandering off with the neighboring band's best flintknacker. But when it failed, there was no divorce lawyer billing you by the hour, but there was also no mortgage or custody battle over a barn deposit. The real risk was social. Lose your partner, potentially lose access to food security or protection. So breakups back then weren't emotionally easier. Grief doesn't care about your century, but they were logistically a lot lighter. You lost a partner, not a down payment, not a DJ deposit, not your dignity in a group chat. Now, before you get too smug about your ancestors skipping the registry, some hunter-gatherer societies did have a version of paying for a partner. Anthropologists call it Brideservice. Instead of buying a ring, a man would work for his future wife's family for a period of time, hunting for them, helping gather, proving he could actually contribute. Research on contemporary hunter-gatherers suggests this kind of exchange between families in some form shows up in a large majority of the groups studied. So yes, technically, some early humans also had to prove themselves to the in-laws. The difference is, nobody handed over $6,000 to a jewelry store to do it. You handed over actual competence. Wildly, showing you could hunt was considered a more convincing commitment than showing you could finance a diamond. You might be waiting for the part where I describe the ancient officiant, the vows, the "you may now embrace" moment. That part doesn't exist, and honestly, good. One less person to overpay. There's no confirmed archaeological evidence of a specific ceremony or ritual marking a wedding 300,000 years ago. That level of detail just isn't preserved that far back, so I'm not going to pretend otherwise. What we do have is the broader picture, pair bonding as an ongoing, visible, socially recognized behavior rather than a one-day event. So instead of one expensive afternoon, early humans got what amounts to a rolling, unpaid, permanent public commitment ceremony that never needed a photographer. Let's do the actual comparison, because this is the part that should make you a little bit furious. Modern wedding planning, on average around a year of your life, venue tours, tastings, fittings, seating chart warfare, and a group chat that never dies. Ancient pair bonding, weeks to months of showing up, sharing resources, and being visibly reliable in front of a group of 25 to 50 people who already knew your whole business anyway. No vendors, no deposits, no day-of coordinator you're paying $2,000 to tell people where to sit. One system runs on invoices, the other ran on food sharing and not being a jerk at the fire. Somehow the second one is the one that sounds more sustainable. Now, before you picture 300,000 years of peaceful, monogamous bliss, relax, they had drama too. Human mating systems weren't uniform. Researchers note that while monogamy tends to be the most common arrangement within any given group, polygyny was socially accepted in many societies, and pair bonds still had to compete with basic biological incentives like mate guarding and jealousy. So no, it wasn't some utopia where everyone held hands and nobody cheated. It was still humans doing human things, just without a wedding industry monetizing the fallout afterward. The drama existed, the influencer wedding reveal video did not. So if there was no contract, no ceremony, and occasional jealousy, why did any of it stick? Because the incentive was brutally simple and constantly reinforced. Cooperating pairs raised more surviving kids than solo parents did, generation after generation. That's not romance, that's a selection pressure with really good PR. Every successful pair bond that raised a kid to adulthood was basically free advertisement for the whole "let's stick together" strategy. No influencer needed to convince the tribe pair bonding was worth it. The surviving toddlers did the marketing. And yes, even back then, family involvement existed. Studies of hunter-gatherer societies suggest arrangement of partnerships by parents or close kin was common in a large share of cultures examined. So the phrase "meeting the parents" is not, in fact, a modern invention created to torture you specifically. Somewhere 300,000 years ago, someone's mother was absolutely giving an opinion on their choice of partner around the fire, just without a group text to do it in. Some things, tragically, are just permanent features of being human. So let's tally the final scorecard, because I know you love a good scorecard. Modern wedding. Roughly a year of planning, $30,000 average spend. One diamond company's 1930s marketing slogan still somehow running your life. A seating chart that nearly ends 3 friendships. And a success rate that's basically a coin flip. Ancient pair bond. Weeks to months of showing up, sharing food, possibly hunting for your future in-laws, 0 photographers hiding in bushes, and a bond reinforced by nothing fancier than Did you help raise the kid or not? One of these systems required a line of credit. The other required a decent hunting arm and the willingness to not be a jerk at the fire. I'll let you decide who actually won this comparison. Here's the actual point buried under all the jokes. Marriage, as we know it today, the contracts, the property, the elaborate ceremony, isn't some ancient universal truth handed down from the dawn of humanity. A lot of that structure shows up alongside agriculture, roughly 11,000 years ago, when humans started owning land, stockpiling resources, and needing legal ways to protect and inherit them. Before that, the bond itself, showing up, sharing, raising a kid together in front of people who'd hold you accountable, was the whole institution. We didn't invent commitment. We just slowly buried it under paperwork, catering fees, and a font crisis. The ring didn't create the relationship. It just gave capitalism something to sell you. So next time you're staring down a $30,000 invoice for a barn rental and a chicken or fish dinner, just remember, somewhere 300,000 years ago, two people looked at each other, decided to share a fire, share food, and raise a kid together. And that was it. That was the whole wedding. No seating chart required. You, meanwhile, are 3 vendor emails deep into a font crisis. Progress, apparently. If this saved you even a little bit of wedding industry rage, subscribe, because next week we're doing You Today versus Them 300,000 years ago on funerals. And spoiler, they somehow spent less money grieving than you're about to spend on centerpieces.